tell us about the surgery?
We had some surgery yesterday, and unfortunately his knee wasn't doing everything we wanted it to do, and we needed to further investigate it. I'm still not quite sure of the outcome of that, so we'll fill you in on that as best we possibly can when we get some more news, but it only happened to us yesterday afternoon that we had surgery, so I myself haven't even spoke to Redo this morning and to the doctor to see where it all come out, but obviously we did it with the idea in mind that it would get him better quicker, and he was struggling to get going.
You must really feel for him given the 6 months or 8 months or whatever that he's had.
Yeah, look, I had a conversation with him Wednesday, may have been, that, same conversation. Look, there's been people who have actually dealt with repetitive knee, ACLs, and 3 and 4 of them in time. So everyone gets challenged at some stage. Redo last year, unfortunately, round 10, done his shoulder, and we thought we'd look after him, get his shoulder done and repaired as quick as we possibly could to give him the best chance for the pre-season. Having said that, as does happen sometimes, you get a bit of bad luck, something else happens, and he's had a bit of a bad trot. I'm sure he'll get better and he'll recover and he'll come back and still have a great career.
What point was he actually at? Had he started running or anything like that yet?
Yeah, that's what happened. We got him back running, and with the load of running through his knee, it just didn't cope with the load of running again. He was certainly able to run on the Alter G early, and that was going okay. But once we got him onto full weight bearing on the ground, it became obvious that there was some more stuff needing to be done.
Just on the ruckman, Matty Loby's obviously doing a great job. Will he need a spell at some point in the season?
Yeah. Look, there's a chance that he may. We don't know that. Obviously we rely on a bit of luck. But we have got Brent Renouf there as our strong backup support for Lobes, and at some stage maybe we might even play 2 in the one side. But at this stage we haven't done that. But there's always a chance of injury and all those things that can happen in a football season. So at this stage we're hopeful that doesn't happen.
We have to play 2 ruckmen to combat Sandlands, you think?
No, we've picked our side. We've picked the side with 1 ruckman in it, and that's the way we'll play. And we certainly won't be making that change. Aaron's been a great player. We know how big a task it is for our rucks, but we understand that that's one part of the game. There's lots of other parts that make the whole game up.
Is Jonas on the midfield then to read his taps and kind of counter what he can do?
I think that's obvious most weeks with sides that come up against him, that you actually have to play off him a fair bit as much as you possibly can, and hopefully nullify his dominance of some of his ruck hit outs, because you watch some of his hit outs, they can actually go 20 and 30 metres off his fist, which is a big hit. So we've just got to try and nullify that a little bit. Not saying we're giving away what we're trying to do. We're going to try and do our absolute best with Lobes to get his hands on the ball too.
Mitchell coming into the side, is this about the quickest side that you've had at your disposal?
I haven't even really thought of it. I suppose he certainly makes us quicker. In fact, makes us the quickest we've ever been. I'm not sure, but yeah, we've obviously with the blokes that we've added in over the pre-season, it's certainly a quick team on paper. But Mitchell hasn't been rewarded for his speed. He's been rewarded for his performance, and his performance, like we've done with Sam Gray, like we've done with Ben Newton, like we've done with Paul Stewart. Blokes have been rewarded for consistency of form, and we have to honour that, and we have to make sure that they know that if they keep delivering on those results, they'll get a go.
What's he added to his game this year compared to last year that sort of impressed you?
He looks really, really hard on his inside ball. His outside run and his ability to outnumber have always been there, but he's really worked hard at the Magpies under Buddha to make sure that his contested ball part of his game inside is really strong, and that's what he's been able to get better.
Kane Corn said this morning that match you lost to Fremantle last year has actually really helped you guys for this year, just in terms of the way they attack the ball, etc. Do you sort of feel that as well, that was a bit of a lesson that the guys needed at the time to make you guys better?
I think that's really important for us. I reckon when we get opportunities to play against these great teams, that we actually learn something from them. And last year we were able to do that off Geelong a few times, off Hawthorn, and certainly off Fremantle, and even the Sydney games. You're always learning something, but some of the real strong sides, and we've seen by the end of last year with Hawthorn and Freo playing off in the grand final, that their pressure was as good as we'd ever seen in that game, and we know that, and we want to become something like that if we possibly can in our defensive pressure, because that's what we want to base our game around.
Do you feel like you've got something to prove then to them, to say we can now match it with you and beat you at it?
No, we haven't got. No, we've got something to prove to ourselves, is see if we're still continually looking to improve, and that's what we need to do. We need to be able to put pressure on them, not worry about so much the pressure they're going to put on us, but we've got to be able to put the pressure back on them as best we possibly can.
Do you try and dictate the terms you can with your pace and your, aggressive ball movement?
Oh no, Ross will be the same. They'll be coming in to play the game that they want to play, and we're going to go out there and try and play the game that we need to play as well. And that's always the case in every game, I reckon. It's a little bit of an arm wrestle, and who can push back the hardest and take the ground when you need it the most is probably who's going to come out on top in a really close game. I'd imagine it'll be a little bit of, it's going to be their turn, it's going to be a bit of our turn, and the styles will be a little bit different at times. But hopefully at the end of the day we get a little bit more in time with the ball and we're in front a bit longer.
Can a couple of good wins against good sides when you knock off Geelong. If you knock off Freo, what does this say about your group?
Oh, no, it just says that we're competing and we're getting better and we're trying to keep looking to improve and that we know that there's some challenges. You don't always get, the trouble is with individual games, there's lots of reasons that each of those games happen the way they do, I reckon, sometimes. And, we played Geelong, 4 or 5 of their better players perhaps not in the side. We've got Freo this week with 2 of their key backs out of the side. We've got Jonas out of the side. So there's lots of different things that come out of a game of football. So any one given day doesn't really give you much other than to say, okay, we got the job done on that day, and that's what we need to do, is make sure tomorrow we come and perform at our best.
It's got to be a bit wet, obviously, tomorrow, a bit like today. Is that going to help you guys, do you think, or you haven't really played much of the week? Do you think that'll
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. We went to Canberra last week expecting the conditions to be quite challenging, and they weren't too bad. They were a bit slippery, and there was a little bit of rain, but not like it is this morning. So I'm not sure what tomorrow brings. But when I sit here and plan for the weather, I'll end up with a shock in the morning. It'll be something different. So I'm not sure what it'll do.
Do you think the dimensions of Adelaide Oval will suit Fremantle?
It's very similar. It's not quite as long, obviously, as Subi, but it's quite similar in width, so they'll be used to that sort of. But Ross has openly said, and we're the same, it doesn't matter where and who you play and when you play, you've just got to be able to turn up and play. And the ground shouldn't have too big influence on what you do.
Will you simplify your tactics, Ken, if it is coming down tomorrow? I mean, will you change late in the piece some of the things you were keen to do?
No. We like to think that our game style will stand up, and that's what you've got to plan for. You've got to plan for a game style that can stand up in whatever the conditions are, because we do sometimes play under a roof. We do sometimes play in perfect conditions. We've also been to Darwin and played in slippery conditions in that sort of state. You've got to have a game style that stands up all the time, and there's a bit of flexibility in what you do, but normally it's pretty similar, I reckon.
How about Jonas's groin? Is it just a resting type thing, or?
Yeah, it is. It's one that, he's probably carried through in fact, right through the pre-season, we've been able to monitor him pretty closely and make sure we keep him under control. But it's just got to a point where, he's come off that game last week, and again, the conditions are a little bit slippery, and so put a bit more strain through his groins. And, we're just, the right thing to do is that we're not going to take a risk, and if he's sore, we're just not going to play him. So we've made that decision not to play him this week. We hope that's not a long-term issue at all. We think, with the bye the week after, that should be okay, but who knows? We're hopeful.
Your injury toll is creeping up a little bit. Is that just the price you pay for the amount of work that Virgil's putting into these guys? You're going to get niggles and nags from time to time?
No, I think every club in the AFL have similar number of injuries. It's just sometimes when you get them, when you don't get them. We've had a couple of long-term injuries this year. Purely, ACL you can't do nothing about. It's nothing to do with what you're doing or not doing. It's just bad luck. Redo's bad luck with what's happened. So they're not load issues in any way, but it's just a matter of, we have got a significant amount of injuries, but so has every club in the AFL. We think we've just got to be better and make sure that we don't worry about our injuries and get them as back in the condition as they can, as best, quick as we can. But the people who are in control are the blokes who are able to play, and we need to expect them to deliver.
There's always a lot of focus on how you score against Fremantle, coming into games against them, but how much planning goes into actually stopping them from scoring as well?
Yeah, well, we spend the best part of our week working on defence. So we work to defend as best we possibly can. As I said, it's credit to Ross and their team that they've defended so well. They've been the best defensive team in the competition for a long time now, and we just need to make sure that we're working to get somewhere near that. That'll be a challenge for any team, but we need to make sure that we challenge his team that they can't score as well as they'd like to against us.
How can you exploit their back line, their missing backs, Ken?
Oh, well, first and foremost against Fremantle, one of the biggest challenges you have is getting it in there enough. They're a great side at restricting entry, so we need to make sure we provide enough of those entries for our forwards to go to work, because our forwards are, they'll present a significant risk to them, I'm sure, with the quality of our forward line and the ability that they have. But that won't help us if we don't get the ball inside forward 50 enough, and that will be our first challenge for our midfield, to make sure the ball's going our way as best we possibly can.
Ken, is the biggest problem for the midfield the size of their midfield? You've counted sides that run as hard, maybe for not as long, but run as hard as you, but their size of their midfielders, and they're known for their strength in there. Is that the biggest challenge, and how do you cope with that?
I suppose I can say I'm really comfortable with the size of Boak, Wines, Ebert, Hartlett, Polack, and say I'm really comfortable. They're 188 plus size players. They're nearly 90 kilo players. So I think we match up really. Phil Walsh is massive on having big body midfielders, because we know that that's what you've got to compete against when it gets the toughest. And Freo have got some great midfielders, but we've got great size to go against them, we think.
had some weird uncontested ball numbers this year. I think they were plus 90 against West Coast last week, but minus 170 against Hawthorn. And all their games, when they've lost uncontested ball, they've lost convincingly. So it is sort of affect that in the game.
Yeah, look, I listened to Ross talk last week after the game, and he made a point of saying that they controlled the ball better last week in their game against West Coast. So maybe that's what he's alluding to. I'm not sure, but they certainly were able to hit up on teams that much better in that game last week than they have done perhaps previous, and that might have been just a slight tinker to their game style. I don't know, but I can only assume that they're going to play something similar this week.